Okie dokie, Smokey. So here we go. Fighting ideas versus individuals. And I think it's important to realize these differences because I think that there is a clear motive as things go on. There is a shift between fighting against ideas versus individuals all the time, and how it is framed, right? So, in a lot of cases, geopolitically, we don't want to appear racist. We don't want to be the World War II style, you know, we're going to do, bucktooth caricatures of Tojo. And you'll be like, so, American, America, you die, that type of thing, right? We don't want to do that sort of thing. So instead, we say ideas. So against China, we just say, well, China is against the Uyghurs and all this sort of thing. We may kind of give some lip service to maybe the Winnie the Pooh type thing is funny, that Xi Jinping looks like Winnie the Pooh, ha ha ha, that sort of thing. But we don't want to appear racist. It's just a joke, bro. Right? But then, of course, when it comes to individuals, they will talk about Xi Jinping. They may even talk about like the interior minister, whomever else in China, like Wang Yi, for example, the spokesman. But when it comes to the U.S., they'll say, "Oh, the Republican Party are fascist, this and that. We're fighting fascism." But then they will shift to the individuals, and they'll point at Ted Cruz, they'll point at Gomert, they'll point at Boebert, they'll point at Jim Jordan, they'll point on all these individuals, or they'll target good old, as they say, Moscow Mitch and everything else like that, Mitch McConnell. And this is kind of the interesting thing where you're fighting ideas, when you get accused of being racist, but when you are attacking an individual, it's easier, right? Video I just recorded, I was talking about the California recall election, right? And they're talking, of course, about people like Larry Elder, and they say that he is the black face of white supremacy. And to me, it's just silly. Just call him a coon, instead of making allusions to like, that he's basically like a Republican. I mean, well, he is Republican. I was going to say that basically he's like Reagan in blackface or whatever, but it's like, how does that help your case? It's like you're basically just using some, some kind of like half-hearted racism to try to make your point. It's like, if that's what you think is going to help, okay, and it kind of points to the whole Democrats are the real racist type thing, but does that really help your case? I think it's interesting the way they shift gears between, and I say they, but whether it's the federal government or it's just critics in general, Twitter LARPers and YouTubers who want to squeeze whatever clout they can out of politics. And they'll shift between fighting the ideas and the individuals. It's just like, it's like instead of, forward and reverse for your car, you just have ideas and individuals, right? So, I mean, broadly speaking, of course, have Joe Biden, for example. And of course, he said, we're fighting, autocracy. It's autocracy versus democracy. Big brain idea stuff, right? But then, of course, he will say things like, yeah, Putin is a killer, this and that, right? So it's interesting to see the way the shift is, right? Now, of course, they're not going to say not all Russian people are bad. But they have to be specific that, oh, yeah, well, Putin is the bad guy. I mean, the thing is that these are just ridiculous ideas. This is kind of, maybe this is more of a thought experiment. I'm sure this isn't some groundbreaking stuff, that there are much more intelligent people who have brought this up, but I'm saying it here now, and you can go ahead and feel as you want to. But, it's kind of like, oh, well, now that, so-and-so has said something stupid, it's time to dab on them and to dunk on them and find whatever embarrassing quotes that they've said. Let's go ahead and use those. But then, when they're on the back foot, or it's more of a broad stance, then they'll attack the individual. Then they'll attack the group and say, well, the Republicans are the fascists, this and that. And it's interesting the way it plays out, right? Between saying the Democratic Party is the party of, true progress, this and that. And of course, it's bullshit. Of course it is. But there are enough shitlibs and boomers out there who genuinely think somehow that the Democrats are going to make things better. If you want to believe that, then go for it. But I think it's nonsense. They both suck. And unfortunately, there are enough people, I think, in the next generation who will continue on with this false dichotomy. Because part of it is because they have no other choice. There are a few reasons. It's because they don't have another choice, or they haven't been shown another choice, or the folks that they have been shown the other choice to, for example, like Marxist-Leninism, or maybe, fascism or whatever, they are too LARPy, and they're edgy bros, and they're just like, yeah, we should just let, white Americans die and shit like that, so we can have 1,000 Aryans. Ignore it. Hold on. I'm just going to let it roll. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay. I thought it was something like that. Anyway, I'm going to leave that dead area in there that we all can think about it if y'all have some free time. But anywho, I just think it's interesting, these shifting movements, right? And of course, it's the same thing with people like Vosh, who will say things like, yeah, all conservatives are pedophiles, this and that. But then he'll say things like, well, not all Republicans are bad. Some people can be changed over. And some are just reactionaries because they know no better. And all that sort of thing, right? So like I say, there's these shifting sands that go back and forth. I mean, that's politics. It is. It's politics. And that's just the way people are. There'll be outrage right now by Afghanistan or whatever, and then next week, move on to the next thing to be upset about. That's the whole thing. You have to find the new grift, you find the new hustle, and you keep going. But, not to say Republicans don't do this either. Of course they do. It's just like, yeah, they're, the communist, socialist, the communist, fascist Democrats are going to, take over everything. And they're going to, AOC is going to take over, and arrest you for being white or something like that. I don't know. But it's just tiresome, I would say. I don't know. Maybe I'm saying that because I'm feeling tired, but it's something to think about. Anywho, hopefully y'all enjoyed that ranty sort of dragging out video. Anyway, hopefully y'all enjoy it. See you later. Goodbye.